I didn't realize like I would shrink myself in meetings, just like, and then after like I heard of the talk and at another course we took on presentation, they were like, you gotta sit like this. And I'm like, oh, so now I'm consciously thinking of like, what's my posture look like? I need to like, not like shrink. So that was a really good point when she mentioned that.
And everything with that kind of steepling, right? The power pose with either it's this or it's anything with kind of a point to it. I think I read somewhere, I don't know if she talks about it, but how that also, if you're kind of steepling your hands or talking like this, it kind of exudes confidence, whether you are or not. The perception when someone has those kinds of postures is very different than when they don't. Any tips or stories that you all have for helping our students kind of have that power and that energy and that confidence heading in to the career fair or into interviews down the road? Are there things that you all did to kind of pep yourself up or prepare? Are things to kind of get that energy and confidence, at least to pretend if it wasn't fully inside you?
So I would say that, all the technical skills are really important, obviously, like everyone's getting an engineering degree, but UT has such a name for it that employers pretty much know that you're going to be at a certain level when they see you at the career fair, right? So on top of that, I would say those social skills and just showing people that you're eager to learn, even if you don't necessarily have the skills for a job quite yet, that will get people to hire you, I think, because you're just showing that you're a go-getter, you're really interested in the job, in the company, and your past, failures or successes have proved that you're just, someone that is willing to adapt, willing to change. And I think I look for that maybe even more above like a certain technical level, because I can say then, oh, this student can get there really fast, and even if they're not quite there yet. So I would strongly just suggest keeping that in mind. I think that calmed my nerves a lot when I was a student.
I would say what one of my mentors told me when I was an undergrad was the biggest thing was to be yourself, be authentic, be genuine. I think during interviews, youth were nervous and we try to be something we're not or shape ourselves into maybe what they're looking for, but really talk about like your specific skills that you bring to the table. And of course, your interests, why you're following that career path. And, I think if you bring that authenticity, it's definitely more relatable and makes you stand out a little bit more. I think another thing for me was, researching the company, of course, beforehand so that you have specific questions about, the work they do, the job roles they have to offer. I think, getting a sense of the culture there, because this is an interview for the company as well as the student. So I definitely think that's probably something I learned after college was really get to know the company. And then I think selling yourself, just really hype yourself up, be your best cheerleader. And that's something I learned after college also.
So there's lots of companies that come to Expo. There's lots of companies maybe that it's hard to research all of them, right? So if you have your top few that you've researched and you have your good questions, is there value in going and just kind of exploring other companies? Maybe you don't know everything about them. Is there value in kind of hopping in this virtual world and visiting with companies that maybe you see have your major as someone that they might want to hire, but you don't know much about them? How might you do that, or is that valuable to go visit with them?
Yeah, so I would say absolutely. So one thing that has become very, very clear to me in the post-college world is that you can never go wrong with talking to people and networking. Like it's never going to be a bad thing to do that. So even if you go to a company that you didn't necessarily research or was not on your list, I think that just making those connections, proving that you're someone eager, just showing them who you are and that you're good student, you're on their radar and they're on your radar. So somewhere down the line, if you need some sort of job interview or it becomes interesting later to you, you've already made those connections. And even at the very least, if it doesn't result in anything at all, at least you've gotten the experience of talking to somebody new and finding out what another company in the industry does. And I just think if you're always looking to learn, that can never be a bad thing. So I would definitely encourage that.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that statement. Absolutely have an open mind on different companies, and you don't know what you can get out of it. Again, showing your skills. I think we always have that ideal of the list companies, big names, but you might be more influential at a smaller firm. So that's definitely have an open mind. And again, you can gain more skills just talking to people. So.
So Bacola, you talked about some of these kind of go in with some questions. What are maybe some questions that are some good go-to questions when you're going to visit with a company, whether you've researched them or not? There's probably some questions that are applicable regardless.
There's both technical questions about the specific role maybe you had in mind. So maybe asking what the daily life is for a role, and just so that you can have a clearer picture. Because some jobs come up front with traveling, some don't. They might say that later. So, just trying to get a feel for the positions, and then also culture, ask about their culture there, what the maybe the demographic looks like, what kind of backgrounds do your employees have? Are they all the same type of engineer? Do they have a little bit of mix of everything? And I think, again, really get into the company. So it depends on the individual, what your interests are. But I know for me, those are the questions I would come with.
Sahana, any questions that you would ask to companies or suggest?
Maybe like one important one. Do they give you an opportunity to experience different roles in your first couple of years? I know that was something that was very, very impactful for me during my first couple of years at the company. So, that might be just something that students could ask about. Perhaps if I had like a 6-month rotation in one group and then like 6 months in another group, and then I was really able to think about what I valued in a career. So that's something, and I completely agree with her as well when she said to ask about the culture. I think you have to love where you work, because you're going to be spending 8 hours a day there, even more sometimes, and those people just kind of become your home away from home, right? Or at least that's ideally what you would want it to be. So I would definitely say, ask them to put you in contact with other employees if you, even get to so far to receive an offer, or even if you don't get an offer. I mean, I'm always willing to talk to students just to let them know what's out there and what I've seen and any advice I have. So I'm sure a lot of people are willing to do the same thing. So yeah, I just go back to just network and talk to as many people as you can.
Yeah. So we're talking confidence as well. And so if you think about, your resume, or your resume as a first or second year student, where maybe you don't have a whole lot of things on there yet. Maybe you haven't had the opportunity yet to be a leader. Maybe you had a semester that you didn't do so hot as you were trying to navigate coming into college. And so your GPA is maybe not, the highest possible, or maybe where you want it to be. And so that can impact kind of how you feel going in and talking to companies. What's your advice for students that maybe, are concerned about their GPA, or maybe feel like they don't have all of the things, all the engineering experiences already and all the leadership experiences already on their resume? How can they get that boost, and what might they think about or do when they head into these situations with interviews or at Expo?
I can start, because I definitely think I was one of those students. I had a hodgepodge of internships that, because I was still trying to figure out which career path I wanted to go with biomedical engineering, because it's really diverse. So I think during interviews, it was hard to, say, oh, I've done this and that, but I showed my eagerness to learn about the role, and that I, although I didn't have a specific idea about what I wanted to do, I knew I wanted to do healthcare. And so I talked about my passion in healthcare. And I think that sparked, different companies to say, well, she definitely has a passion and a drive, and she has new ideas coming from, this university. So I think showing that your passions, and then they can probably work with that.
I would say one tip that I actually didn't realize until I left college was that failure is a good thing. People spend such a long time trying to be perfect and have like perfect grades and GPA, but in a lot of companies and their interviews, they're really looking for that tenacity in people. So you fail and then you find a way to solve that problem, and what kinds of challenges were you faced with. So a student that doesn't have a lot on their resume, or maybe, didn't do so well in a class, explain it, say how you went back and maybe tried to learn more, or talk to the professor, or these are the projects I did after that, because I really found this class interesting. Like she said, if you show that perseverance and, the fact that you failed, but you were able to pick yourself up and get there, I think that is equally as important to an employer as a success on a resume. So I really hope that won't deter students from applying anywhere, because it is important to have challenges and failures in life. So
it's going to happen regardless, right?
That's awesome. Good use out of it.
That's awesome. Well, as we wrap up, what maybe final tips or words of wisdom would you like to share with students as they continue on this journey of trying to navigate jobs and career fairs and interviews and all things future job related?
I would say just go into it with a positive attitude in everything, like regardless, because you are who you are as a person, and no interview or no specific company that you talk to is going to be able to change that. So I very strongly believe that you should embrace really all the skills and all the attributes that you have, and spin them in a way that makes you look really good to employers. And even if that's not something you want to do, start your own company, do whatever you want to do, because it's really, really, really important. The number one most important thing is to just be happy doing what you're doing, right? And you shouldn't have to change who you are or your accomplishments in order to fit a certain role. And I truly believe that that's how people are most happy at their jobs or whatever they end up doing. So yeah.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, Sahan, about entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
There's definitely a great market for, young women who want to start up companies. So that's a really good advice. And I think my biggest takeaway, interviewing is a life skill, and it's not going to stop at, this one job. I think my, undergrad and grad school experience, I thought engineering was going to be super technical. I'm learning all these really complicated concepts, and I'm going to stick to that. And my work, that's the bare minimum. It's mostly about people and how you present yourself, public speaking. We pursue different projects. So now I'm interviewing all the time. So I thought, I'm one and done. It's not the case. So it's definitely something you get better at, and you build more confidence, and practice. Practice is great. So I just want to stress the importance of having those interpersonal skills on top of being super technical and super intelligent. So that's my biggest takeaway.
Awesome. Well, thank you all. These are great tips. I can't wait to share them with our students.